All right, syllabus part 3. Okay, safe space and respect. I operate what's called a safe space, and this especially you can especially feel this in the classroom. I bring a tea cart. I make a big deal about what safe space is. Transferring it online is a little different, but I still feel very strongly about it. So let me make sure that we are all on the same page. The term safe space has come up over the last few years. And if you Google it online, you'll hear a lot of people sing its praises and a lot of people critique it. Some people use the term brave space, which I also enjoy. But basically, here's the idea behind a safe space. Um, a safe space is a place that actively works to counter the power dynamics in our culture. So in our culture, right, there are power dynamics happening. And you are treated in a certain way or you are impacted differently based on your social characteristics. And that's a long list. So the ones we often think of right away are race, class, gender. Those are the easy ones, right? But there's a lot more: age, religion, you know, education status, socioeconomics, which is class, but like there are so many variables about like how people get treated and how people get privileged or not privileged. And so what a safe space does is it like this is all boiled down to like life's not fair, right? So what a safe space does is it attempts to counter those purposefully. So specifically uplifting perspectives that are usually laughed at, dismissed, not heard, etc. Making space for bodies and perspectives that are often oppressed. We want to do that. Now, I've had people hear this because I'll say, like, if you look at all of these categories, so like the easy ones being race, class, gender, that like you can name who is privileged in those categories, right? So race is white, um, gender is male, right? Class is middle upper class. Um, and what sometimes, oh, and then like sexuality, straightness, um, gender identity, cisgender. So like what people sometimes hear is white straight male. And I've actually had white straight males, just one I think, come to my office hours and be like, "You don't hate me, do you? You're not going to be more unfair to me because I'm a white straight male." And I had to like refrain from laughing because I was like, "Oh no, this is like the point of this is to treat everybody with respect, not narrow people out, right?" And I'm not thinking of people in terms of white straight male. I'm thinking in terms of categories, right? So like white separately, straight separately, male separately. You'll see in those categories, I am privileged in some ways, so very white, super white, and not others, right? So not male. So masculine, but not male. Um, yeah, so I kind of make a joke here sometimes, and I'll say, like, even if you've never read Harry Potter, even if you've never seen The Lord of the Rings, when I had never seen The Lord of the Rings, people were so mean to me. Right? Like, even if it's something that, like, we can have that reaction of, like, what? Right? If someone's like, yeah, I have multiple partners, I'm, like, in an intimate relationship with multiple people. Usually that makes people go, what? And then like after the what, then we have to be like, oh, tell me more, instead of like, that's disgusting, right? Like we can't go to a place of judgment, marginalization, etc. So that's safe space. Please, if you have any questions on that, let me know. Um, I think that will especially come useful one when we're doing our speeches because we'll be talking a lot, and so like thinking about the other people in the class and like making sure to take your audience into account and not dismiss their perspectives. That's certainly important, but also in the discussion boards, I think that that's going to be um, relevant. Please go listen to my teaching philosophy. Did I give you a link? I didn't give you a link, but you can easily Google it. It's a song. I would recommend listening to the 10-year acoustic version. She just hit 25 years on this album. And I can't wait to buy the live concert she did and listen to it. I'm so pumped. But yeah, you live, you learn. I mean, like this is. I think people think this is a joke, but this is like literally my teaching philosophy that like you can learn in so many different ways, and that's what it's about. So, So that's there. I'll get it more into assignments, um, both as we go and probably in a little bit. This is just a layout. These points and assignments are so that you can see kind of the aspects of the class. Um, I will talk more about that either in this video or a different one, but basically I've conceptualized this as like parts, right? So if I'm thinking like, oh, what does a person need when they do public speaking? Well, they clearly need speeches, right? So they need speeches. So that is over a third of your grade. If you're looking at the points and you're like, we only have 3 speeches, but like, look at the points. It's a third of your grade. So it's a BFD, as I believe they say. But then like speeches aren't just that, right? Like you also need like, what's another way? It's like, oh, well, you need to read the material that teaches you how to do the speeches. Like, oh, okay. So then I have reading reflections, right? I believe you have 4 of them. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, now I also need to watch the speeches and like reflect on them. So then I have, they're called all about me's. So they're like speech reflections. So after you give a speech, you'll watch it and then write a reflection there, right? So you see these components, and then I have class activities, and then I have peer evaluations, right? So you can see that these are all connected to sort of like, how can I give you a full picture of this class, right? So that's there, and I can go into more, I'm going to go into more detail on those. Okay, so now we're on second page, course policies. Oh, do not cheat. Oh my God, do not cheat. Let me repeat, do not cheat. Here's why you should not cheat. 1, I'm probably going to catch you. I'm not even that good at catching people, but like the internet makes it so easy to catch people because like most of the ways people cheat is they copy and paste. And honestly, if you're going to be more creative with how you're cheating, like if you're going to steal a speech topic from someone who's already given it and do their speech, that is like going to be just as much, if not more work than just doing your own speech. So like, don't cheat, don't risk it, don't do it. Here's the thing about cheating. Once you cheat, I have to report you. Okay, so I'm stressing some of you out because some of you are like, oh my God, what if I cheat on accident? Okay, so there are 2 types of plagiarism. Let's talk about them. The first type of plagiarism is the type where I look at you and I say, do you know what you did was wrong? And I've had this happen. I've had this happen multiple times. Where I'll look at a student and I'll say, do you know what you were doing was wrong? And they'll go, yeah, I did. That's the type of cheating I'm talking about, right? Like, did you know when you grabbed the study, these are real examples, when you grabbed the study sheet from the student who didn't want to share with you, you stole her study sheet, you copied it, like, did you know that was wrong? Yeah. Okay. Why'd you do it, right? It's like, oh, I was anxious about the test. It's like, that is not, if you're anxious about the test, email me. Do not plagiarize. I had a student once copy everything online and paste it into, I believe it was like a test of some sort or an exam of some sort. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, I've been reading your writing all semester. I know this isn't you. All I had to do was Google it. It came right up. Did you know what you were doing was wrong? Yes. So if you are doing something and you're like, this is unethical, this is bad, I shouldn't be doing this, stop doing it. Don't do it. No. X emoji, X emoji. Okay? That's the type of cheating I'm talking about. And so here's the thing. Here's what will happen. You will do it in a moment of weakness. Hopefully you don't. But if you do, you'll do it. And then I will Zoom you or call you and I will say, okay, I'm reporting this. I'm sending this up the ladder. The university has a very clear policy about what to do when a student cheats, when they plagiarize on purpose. And then you'll go, no, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. Forgive me, Ms. O. I'm so sorry. I was just anxious. And I will say, and I will have to look at you, and I want to be very clear about this, that I don't have a choice here. I will look at you or look at you on the phone, right? Like I will say to you, I don't have an option because I have to report you or I get fired. So let's just be very clear about this. Like, if you cheat, I have to then do the process. Once you cheat, I have to report you. Jump. Do you I'm shaking the thing so you understand. Do you understand, right? Like, you have to know that. Okay, the other type of plagiarism is like basically where people just don't know something, and so they mess up and they do something on accident. So let's say you miscite something, or the first time you do your speech you forget to say your sources. Something like that, like you just messed up, or maybe you cited something incorrectly and you're like, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry, or like, how do I do this, right? If you're learning, just ask. I'm not going to report you or suspend you or do something because you made a very real mistake while you were learning. That's totally understandable. I'm talking about the kind of cheating where like you do something and and I'm like, why did you do that? And you're like, like it was a bad idea. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so don't cheat. Here's the other thing. If you cheat, I have to fill out a shit ton of paperwork. Do I look like someone who's good at paperwork? No. No, I do not. No, I am not good at paperwork. And I hate it so much. So, like, yes, there is a very, like, moral thing here. Do the ethical thing. But also, save me paperwork. Do not cheat in this class. Okay. So, moving on to attendance and participation. This is a little tricky because we're online. And so I've left the way that I conceptualize attendance and participation on there. And really, in many ways, I have like gotten rid of a traditional attendance policy because I think there's a lot of critiques against them. They're often ableist, and yeah, there's just a lot of things. But like, y'all, this class is so fast. I mean, it's 7 weeks, and you can't take a week off. You can't decide like, oh, this week I'm just not going to do my work. Like, you just can't do that. You can take a day or two off, but then you've got to come back and like kick it in, right? See previous video on workload hours. So here's how I conceptualize attendance and participation in an online class. One, are you present? Right? So like, are you doing the discussion boards? Are you participating? There's going to be times where it's like, you have to watch everybody's video. It's like, did you do that? Right? It's like simple things, right? Like, are you engaging in the material? And I'm going to know whether you're engaging in the material or not. Partially because it's like, did you turn in your assignments? Like, and how engaged were you in those assignments? If you aren't watching this material, if you aren't, reading and participating, like, I think I'm going to know. I have put in a bunch of checks and balances to make sure you read the material, to make sure you watch your own speech, to make sure you watch other people's speeches, right? So like, if you're not doing your work, you're not participating. So, I mean, the biggest thing is do your work, engage in the material. I mean, that's participation. I do not have any mandatory meetings that you have to be present for on certain days and times. Now, like I have said, I'm going to send something out to you in order to find out when people are available, and I'm going to do sort of like open times where I can like lecture and answer. I don't really lecture, but like answer questions, stuff like that. So, and those will be optional, but also I will record them. So like, if you can't make them for some reason, I mean, they're highly recommended, right? Like, if ever I'm going to hold a Zoom hangout, you should all come because one, I'm awesome. And two, you get to ask questions and I get to explain things. And I've done this, all of my classes were moved online for spring, and the couple of classes I did this with, I mean, people just raved about like, thank you, this helps so much. So similarly, like in a class, showing up and giving speeches is important. In this class, turning them in on time is important. So like, you want your speeches done on Go React on time. So here's how I conceptualize late work. I conceptualize late work very differently than most people. So please pay attention to this because this is very important. And people often forget that I do this, and then they're like, oh yeah, you do it differently. I'm like, yes, I do it differently. Okay. So here's how So first of all major assignments and all speeches must be completed to pass this course. If, let's say you skip speech 1, you can still pass the course with points, but I won't pass you. Because if you don't do the speeches, that's to me saying, like, you didn't do the thing that the class was for. So, like, you have to complete all the speeches and all the major assignments. You have to. If it is in on time, so I'm going to have deadlines for everything, okay? And most of them you'll see will be Sunday night at like 11:59 or midnight. Some of the things you have to do in the middle of the week. So some of the speeches you'll do in the middle of the week, have them do, because then you'll have to write an all about me or watch other people's. And then that gives me more time to do critiques and stuff, or feedback, I should say, not critiques. So watch for the due dates, but like, your stuff is due when it's due, and speeches are super important. They have to be turned in when it's due, because if they're late, that messes up my feedback, which messes up your doing your all about me. Like, you have to turn your stuff in on time, okay? If it is there when I go to grade it, you get full points. If it is not, it goes to 50%. So you can always turn in late work. So let's say we're going to do a library assignment next week to learn about how to do research. Let's say you just biff it, you skip it, and you don't do it till the next week. You should still turn it in because you'll get 50%. So you should always turn your stuff in, even if it's late. But also, don't be discouraged if you're, a few hours past the deadline, because unless I'm upgrading, which I might be, I'm a night owl, it probably won't affect you. So for me, it's all about, like, I need it there when it's time to grade it. And I have a whole philosophy about why I do this. Like, there's this whole thing about the real world and deadlines, and most places are much more flexible than that. And so, like, I hope someone teaches you that. And there is accountability in this policy for sure. It's just not as, like, I'm just not into arbitrary deadlines. They don't make any sense to me. It's like, I need it there when I need it there. And so if you don't have it in by the deadline, as long as you put it in by the deadline, you're safe. If you don't put it in by the deadline, now you're playing roulette. Like, you're playing roulette with my life. Am I behind? If I'm behind, you're fine. You still get points. If I'm not, it's graded and you get half, right? So do you see what I'm saying? So turn your stuff in on time. If you don't make the deadline, turn it in anyway and hope that I haven't graded it yet. If I have graded it, you'll still get 50%. Questions on this? Let me know. Lots of people are worried about grades. I try really hard to care about grades because I know you care about grades, but like, I really don't. And I wish I could just go to like standard-based grading, but I can't right now. So here's the basic layout for grades. And especially when I'm doing like reading reflections and stuff, I don't really have a rubric. I use this grading evaluation scale as the rubric. So this is the layout. My big thing about grades is if you're worried about them or have questions or have goals, like if you need a certain grade in this class, email me and let me know. Say I am working for an A, right? And if I'm not doing a work, let me know because I want an A. I try so hard to make how I'm grading transparent so that it's not like magic demon professor assigns the grades. What grade will you get? Ha 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 ha. I hate all of that. I want you to do the work and I want you to be rewarded for that work. And if you slacked off on the work, then like you didn't do good enough work, right? Like, and granted, all of that is subjective. I understand that. And granted, I have a lot of experience that you don't. So like, that's why I'm grading. But like, for me, what you're paying, like the reason they pay me so much money to be a professor, hair flip, is that I can give good feedback, not because I can assign a random number, right? So, I really, really like don't want grades to stop you from doing good work. I know that sounds dumb, but it happens all the time because we've been conditioned to try to like get a grade. Please don't try to get a grade in this class. Just engage in your work. That is the best way to get a good grade. And again, you can always talk to me if you're confused about that. I had a student one time, I had been begging him to try extemporaneous speaking. All of the speeches are extemporaneous, which we'll talk about. And he was reading from a manuscript, and I begged him over and over, like, please, please, please. I always put feedback. And on the last speech, he said something to the effect of, I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I was worried about the grade. And that broke my heart, because I'm like, you would have gotten a better grade if you would have tried extem speaking based on how the rubrics are set up, based on the assignment. Like, So just trust me. And if you are having trouble trusting me with the grade, email me and we can talk about it. Okay. I'll let you read the rest of this. Incompletes. It's basically if something happens near the end and you need a little extra time to finish. Those aren't ideal, but we can always talk about them. The course goals, general education requirements, all that stuff is important, so make sure you glance at it. Accommodations, if you need accommodations, please contact the Accessibility Resource Center, especially now that we've moved online. There are no like traditional tests in this class because the tests are the speeches. But if you think there's something that you need any kind of, accommodations with, please go through the ARC. If you feel comfortable coming and talking to me, I'd love to talk to you about that. There's a bunch of additional policies. My advisor always says something to the effect of, not reading them doesn't mean they don't exist, or something like that. It's like, you have to read them. So I'm not going to go through them, but like, please check out our department policies. Please look at those. This MISO class space is when we're in the classroom, but I do think it gives you kind of the tone of like how I feel. It's like, yeah, you could eat in class, and like, yeah, if you need to text, just don't text in your crotch, go in the hallway or something, So do your work, pay attention. I also understand you're human. So like, let me know if you need anything. I've got a bunch of additional resources here. And then, that you can click on, and then the course calendar. So, I will make other videos where I talk specifically about assignments and, kind of like, it's like me talking in class about them, but also, you can kind of see here the layout of the class and how I'm kind of conceptualizing it. So again, I will talk more about those in other videos, but this really kind of lays everything out. And then we end with Sarah Brillis, who I adore. Okay, I think I have covered the majority of the logistics. Stuff is up now. So if you want to, like, please go read the speech descriptions. Please go read, right? Like, everything is up. So you can totally go do that. Yeah, and if you've got any questions, I'm happy to then respond to you in email or to make another video if people have questions. But my big sort of recommendations is, like, read the syllabus, watch these videos, set aside specific class time so that you're not just like working sometimes and then really you're only working 5 hours a week when really the expectation is 15 to 20. And again, hopefully you've caught on to this, but if you need anything, let me know. I'm here for you. Okay. All right. Hopefully you got through it, and hopefully your soda or your chocolate or whatever you had was good. Have a beautiful night. Bye.